Hey everybody, and welcome to my review of Kamen Rider 01. Well, at least the episodes 1 through 30. This is going to be an episode overview of what's been coming up so far and how I feel about it. To make this a lot easier to follow and so simple that everybody can jump in, even newcomers to Kamen Rider, I'm going to break this all down into 3 different pieces. That is the story, the characters, and the themes. Now, when I criticize something, I actually look at these 3 components to see how well they gel together. Some stories have great themes, but no plot or character to speak of. Some stories have amazing characters, but no plot or theme for them to follow. This can work whether or not you have preferences in any one of these categories. For me, I like all 3 of these categories working together to make a cohesive whole. So we're going to look at Kamen Rider 01 and see whether or not it can stand up to these 3 amazing categories. Now, of course, we're going to have to start at the beginning with, of course, the story. So, in the not-too-distant future, androids have been outfitted with advanced AI technology, allowing them to learn and do new jobs. These new androids are called Humagears. Now, these Humagears are really impressive, allowing them to learn from human interaction and learning new things with a new satellite called Zaya, or There. Now, with this connection, they're allowed to learn, grow, and do a lot of impressive jobs, leaving some humans out of, well, their jobs. They took our jobs. Sorry. But one of our first people to lose their jobs is Aruto Hiden. Now, he is a failed comedian, though I think he's pretty funny, so don't feel too bad for him though, because he's got a bigger responsibility. He's now actually inherited a new company from his grandfather, Hiden Enterprises. Now, this is actually the company that produces the Humagears. Though he accepts the responsibility, there's so much more to being the CEO of this company. He's now tasked with not only the responsibility of running this company, but of protecting humanity and the Humagears from one another. So he has to become the titular Kamen Rider 01. There's only one person who could stop you, and it's me. Sorry, I like his catchphrase. So, on his adventures of taking down rogue Humagears, he runs into a special squadron that is tasked with taking down Humagears as well that have gone rogue, Ames. And we bring in our other 2 characters, Fua and Yaiba. Both of these guys have very cool backstories, which we'll get into when we get to the characters. But, suffice it to say, Fua does not like Humagears at all, and he doesn't like being told what to do. He's kind of the loose cannon of the Ames community, and he's the captain of Ames as well. Yaiba seems to be working 2 jobs rather than just 1. She's with Ames, but not with them as well. It's very interesting. We'll get into that a little more, because she actually works for a company called Zaya Enterprises, who will be coming up a little bit later. Now, you're probably wondering, what are making these Humagears go berserk? Well, that is actually the act of the terrorist group Metsubo Jinrai. Now, Metsubo Jinrai are terrorist organizations who are corrupting the Humagears, turning them against humanity, and pushing us towards our own extinction. With all these pieces in play, and more to come on the way, with Zaya Enterprises also entering this fray, this is where Kamen Rider 01 shines. Its plotting is actually really good. The pace is always upbeat and fast. I really like the pacing of the story. There's always a new mystery to unsolve, and there's new things to always be discovered. That's how the show gets you. It keeps going with plot lines and plot points that are developed on and carried over to other episodes in a very nice manner. It's episodic in nature. It's serialized, not episodic at all. It's serialized in nature, and I love that so much. Each episode pours into the other, and they do have specials if they want to do filler. There's not technically any filler episodes, as each episode does bring something new to the table, either a plot point or a plot development or even character development. So, with how this season has been going thus far, all the way up to episode 30, which is, oh my god, episode 29 and 30 are amazing. I love them so much. I'm not going to spoil the plot here, as if you haven't seen Kamen Rider Zero One, you gotta watch this. But the plot is excellent. I love it. The story is great. I like the idea of being set not too far in the future, but far enough that we could have something like advanced AIs and having the idea of, well, automation taking over people's jobs. Or bringing up the idea that with automation, artistic endeavors can be done much quicker and without that much soul to it. And what does it mean to actually have technology in our lives that can do our work for us? If they're learning off of us, how should we act to make sure that the AI acts properly and doesn't revolt against us? These are all the amazing themes that are brought up with the story alone. And we haven't even gotten into the characters and how those tie into the themes. So far, story? Kick ass! As you guys can tell from the story segment, the characters are really important to the story. And, well, let's get into them. We have Aruto, who is our main character. Aruto is a very, to me, hilarious character. I love him. Some call him a static character, and I'll get into that in a second, but I can see that. Aruto is our main character. He's the CEO of Hidden Enterprises, and he's a goofball. He tries to make very funny puns and jokes that most people don't find funny, except for Fua, who won't tell him. But he is not the only person working at Hidden Enterprises. He has his secretary, Izu. Izu is... oh, I'm joking. Izu is just basically the most adorable character in the show. She's a secretary AI, Humagear, that is there to help him out. And she's actually very robotic, obviously, in the beginning, and very innocent. But over time is actually learning a lot of things with Aruto as he's learning to take on these new responsibilities, not only as CEO, but as Kamen Rider Zero One. She even also has this little on-running joke where she's explaining all of his jokes. Ha. Now, with this in mind, a lot of the fun stuff is watching her interact with Aruto and become a little more human throughout. Taking on new choices, new identities, and really kind of running the company for him because he doesn't know exactly what he's doing. Though I love Aruto, he is a bit static. He doesn't really move from his one position in the ideals of the show, but we'll cover that more in the themes of the show, as this character's theme is very important. Every character's theme is important in the show, and we'll get into that in a second. The next character we have to cover is Fua. Fua is our secondary rider. He is our guy who, if you remember back from the story segment, was the one who survived the Daybreak Town incident. Now, Fua has a character development arc of learning not to hate the Humagears anymore, though it's more of he's a very angry young man who puts his anger out onto different things, and he doesn't like being controlled, especially in an age where things are becoming more controlled by AI and computer systems rather than a human being's will and thought and freedom. This is something that he's been battling up against the entire show. His character is brash, to the point, tough guy, and he's got a soft side and loves to laugh, though, he's not going to let anybody know that. He's a stern character who brute forces his way through anything, which is always shown by when he takes his progress key and he will always open it. Again, it's fucking brilliant. I love it. So, now that we've talked about Fua, let's talk about his partner, Yaiba. Now, Yaiba is a very cold and calculated character. She is very by the books. She's actually quite a lawful character if you've ever played D&D. She's very lawful good. She does things the right way because the law says so. The reason why Fua needs to fucking struggle to get his progress key opened up is because, well, he's not authorized to. And Yaiba is. She doesn't authorize him because she doesn't feel like he's ready for it, but he doesn't care, and so he doesn't listen. He just rips the things open. It's a really fun dynamic with Fua being the embodiment of human will and just wanting to do, while Yaiba encapsulating human intelligence, just kind of wanting to toe the line and doing the logical thing in its logical progressional order. I like them being partners because they bounce off of each other so well, and I think it makes them a great tag team. Now, if only they would actually stick together a little more, then we'd see this better in action. The next one is Horobi. Horobi is originally the leader of Metsubo Jinrai. Now he is, spoiler, a Humagear, who's gone rogue and wants to free other Humagears to actually start following the will of the Ark. Now, he is actually very stern, very cold, very robotic, even with his other partner, Jin. Now, Jin is a more young Humagear. He's more innocent and playful and calls every Humagear his friends. And he wants to make friends with every Humagear. So, to make friends with them, he has to turn them over to his side. So, he's often the one who goes out and corrupts another Humagear on the field. These two also have a great dynamic, one being a stern fatherly figure, Horobi, and then the son, the innocent young kid who's just learning everything new, Jin. Now, these two characters will actually develop way more, as Jin has not only, Horobi and Jin both have technically died and come back, because they're robots, they don't need to die in the traditional sense. And when they've come back, they've changed. Things aren't the same anymore. And that's what I also like, is that none of the characters really stay the same. And that's actually an important part of the show as we enter in Guy, the CEO of Zaya Enterprises. Now this guy is a bastard-coated bastard with a bastard filling. He's basically evil Japanese Steve Jobs. He wears a turtleneck. Turtlenecks are always evil. And he runs Zaya Enterprises, a competing company to Hedon Enterprises that actually uses what's called the Zaya Spect rather than Humagears. His idea is that if you augment humans with AI rather than replacing them with AIs, that things come out a little better. He's what I call an ideological villain. His ideas aren't bad, but how he goes about them is wrong, like Thanos. Thanos is basically a conservationist. You know, hey, conserve all the resources in the universe so that we don't all die. But how he goes about it, killing off half of the people in the universe, is pretty bad. Again, Guy has a good point, that yes, we can use AIs and AI programs to actually help augment humans to be as good, if not better, than an android. But how he goes about it, by cheating, stealing, and scheming, is where he goes wrong, especially when he starts blackmailing, hurting Humagears on purpose to make them go rogue, or doing other underhanded things. The guy's just a dick, but an enjoyable dick. As you can see, even though he's an asshole, he does have a method to his madness, and he loves to have control over everything, which puts him in odds with not only Aruto, who believes that people should be able to choose what they want, along with the Humagears, but Fua, a character who doesn't like being controlled whatsoever. But Yaiba works for him. Why? We don't know yet, and that I can't wait to find out. So those are our characters, the major ones at least. There are other characters throughout the show that really highlight how this story can be played out in different ways. These characters and the story they're in are so integrated that they can't help but actually marry to one another, along with the themes that we're about to get to. These characters I could keep going on to for hours, as they change, grow, and actually shift up their vision. Maybe not completely, but in integrals. That's another thing I like about the story and the plot. These characters do change some of their stances, but not by whole hog. It's not like a Super Sentai episode where in the beginning of the episode I hated something and at the end of the episode I love it now. No. Fua, when he sees that Metsubo Jinrai was responsible for the Daybreak incident, he isn't like, oh, so it wasn't the Humagears' fault, so I love them now. No, he still hates Humagears because he still blames them for destroying the town. He just knows where to throw his anger at. He's still an angry bastard at Humagears. He's just a little slightly less angry at Humagears as a whole and a little more angry at terror cells. So, progress? Well, that's the thing. Over time, Fua changes his stance, but only by increments, not by wholes. Same with Aruto with his views on how humans treat Humagears. Going from the idea that Humagears are just there to help us achieve our dreams, and if we work together, everything will be dandy. To next to like episode 28 and episode 29, where he realizes that people will turn on Humagears because the mass public is pretty much not that smart, and even says that it's their fault that the Humagears go bad because they treat them badly. And so it's our fault for treating the androids badly, so they act badly. Oh, God.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
So with that ramble of characters over, and again, I could keep talking about these assholes, let's get on to our third subject, the themes.
When I shine, darkness fades.
Now, I know these have all been extensive talks on basically everything Kamen Rider 01, but the themes are really what tie it all together. Now, the theme of the entire show is basically acceptance between the artificial and the natural. We can see this in a lot of the stuff inside the show, from, of course, the obvious, which is the Humagears being integrated into society and the struggles that can actually bring up. But one of the things that also you might have noticed is the progress keys. The progress keys actually are, when you open them up at least, the designs of the animals for those progress keys have mechanical bits inside. This is because you're having an AI basically interpret animal-like tendencies like flying, ice, or biting, like with the shark, and then integrating them into a technological base. It's technology through nature, or technology being interpreting nature, at least that's what it would be. And one of the things is that these themes carry out throughout the entire show, because if you've noticed, each character has a different stance on the theme of what the Humagears mean to everyone else. Let's take this as an example for the very first character, Aruto. Now, Aruto's actual ideal and what makes him a static character is the idea that his theme is that Humagears should be used in conjunction with human beings. I.e., nobody gets replaced, but we work together in conjunction to make everything better. Fua says we don't need to have Humagears whatsoever. In fact, human will is strong enough that we don't need this at all. So his is no Humagears. Yaiba sees it as Humagears are just tools, things to be used by humanity to better ourselves, and nothing more. Just like a hammer or a nail is to help build a house. Then you have Guy. Guy sees the Humagears as obsolete, not even needing to be needed whatsoever. Instead of putting the AI outside of the human and letting them work for us, why not put it inside? Augmentation is the name of the game with Guy. So all these different ideas clash with one another and then change over time. And these themes are carried out throughout different characters and challenged by other side characters throughout the show. But this isn't limited to just the characters who are human. The Humagear characters themselves have these ideas as well. What does it mean to be a Humagear? Do they have hearts? Do they have dreams? Once they reach what's called the singularity, which, for those who don't know, the singularity is an idea where technology and nature are so close together they're indistinguishable. I.e., technology so advanced it's indistinguishable from nature, or yeah, basically that's singularity, where nature and technology basically just, there's no distinguishing, they just are together now. They don't mean it that way in Kamen Rider Zero One. They kind of use that as sentience rather than the actual meaning of singularity, but that's fine. I don't mind it. It's a show. But so Humagears, whenever they reach their singularity or gain sapience, sentience and sapience, they just start going off of their programming, but not really. They kind of go their extreme of their own programming, i.e., a firefighter will now understand what it means to firefight truly, because he's not a human being. He can go into a higher stakes situation and sacrifice himself to save other people, because that's more important than his autonomy. Because he's a robot, he can be backed up and then put into a new body. It doesn't matter to him anymore. Or to like flower arranging and many other different things. And it's really interesting that the Humagears also have this theme of where into this society do they fit in. And that brings us to Horobi and Jin. Horobi and Jin originally just wanted humans to be eradicated so that Humagears can figure their own shit out or work their way the will of the Ark, the second satellite that controls another AI but is filled with malicious intent instead of good. So with Horobi and Jin, it actually changes up, because Jin now, episode 25 onward, is now not connected to the Ark and not connected to anyone else. He's just kind of his own thing, seeing that if he was to forcibly corrupt Humagears to get them on his side, he's just controlling them just like humans were. So he wants Humagears to be completely autonomous, completely free to choose what they want. And that's a really cool thing. While Horobi still wants to act under what the satellite Ark is telling him, and still goes through that idea. So you can even see with the Humagear villains, we're seeing a differentiation between their ideals. And these ideals will actually switch it up to where villains can be heroes, or they can at least line up with the heroes without there being much of a conflict. So these are all the themes that I really love to see in a show. And, well, this brings me to my final thoughts.
The rider kit increases the power by adding to brightness.
As you can tell, this show, I really like this show. It's a mixture of story, of character, and themes that are blended together great. And even at the 30th episode, we're getting still new shakeups with the story and characters. Aruto is no longer a CEO of his original company. He's now started over. Guy is running Heathen Industries because he bought it out, and so it's a subsidiary of Zaya. Again, Horobi and Jin are no longer seeing eye to eye, even though they're still on the same side. Fuwa and Yaiba are now definitely out in conflict with one another, with Yaiba staying basically loyal to Zaya and Guy, while Fuwa is now seeing the cracks in Zaya and wants to take it down. This is all really, really awesome, and I love that we're starting, as Aruto would say, he's starting from ground zero and square one. I love this guy. So I can't wait to see where Kamen Rider Zero One keeps going. If you have to ask me, I recommend this show. I highly recommend it. If you love tokusatsu, but you're looking for something a little more meaty, a little more mature than like a Power Rangers or a Super Sentai, Kamen Rider Zero One is a great place to start. It's the first one of a series. Like, it's the new generation. It's the Reiwa era, which is the new era, Japanese Emperor era that is now. So there's nothing you have to follow up on. You don't have to know anything about Kamen Rider to get started. I say this show gets a big thumbs up from me and a high recommendation. I think anybody who likes cyberpunk as well, It sounds weird, but this is kind of a cyberpunk story. So anybody who's into futurism, the idea of AIs, cybernetics, augmentation, Kamen Rider 01. It's the show for you. Thank you guys for coming in and watching this video. I know this was a bit long, but there was a lot to cover with 30 episodes thus far, and I'm going to probably go back into weekly episode by episode reviews as time pushes forward. Stay safe in the quarantine and make sure that you guys are all washing your hands for the coronavirus not to get you. Until we see you guys next time, peace.